Hello everybody, my name's Kylie Skinner and the topic I've chosen is flex time and paid time off, both of which are becoming increasingly popular benefits that companies are offering. Now, flex time is a policy in which the traditional fixed times that employees start and finish the working day are replaced by a framework or set of rules within which employees are allowed some freedom to choose their starting and quitting time. And that's kind of like a long-winded way of saying that they essentially choose when they start and when they finish the day, with some exceptions, of course. I've got an example there of a starting time for a business that could be anywhere from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and an ending time from 3 to 5 p.m. You also notice that on the break times and the total hours, they have question marks just because businesses and the legal requirements kind of determine how long each of those would be. There are essentially two different types of flex time, one being core and one being flex. Core time is time that employees have to be at work. So for extending on the last example, they would have to be there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the reasons for that are potentially meetings that they have or deadline times that they have to be in the physical building to be present to submit. There's also flex time, and that's times that employees can choose from, or when they want to start and when they want to end. Again, extending on the last example, you can start from anywhere from 6 to 9 a.m. or 3 to 6 p.m. And the reasons for that are, amazingly, to relieve congestion. Bigger companies had way too many people trying to park at one time to come to work. So to relieve that, they had some people start from 6 or whenever they wanted to start, and then slowly increment it up until they had everyone there. So to relieve parking, so everybody could park better, so the roads weren't as badly congested. There are pros and cons of flex time, and the pros are that it helps balance work and personal life of employees. And this is really helpful, especially if you have children at home, if you have an elder that you have to take care of, or for whatever reason that you need to start the day later or maybe go home earlier. Flex time is a really great way to balance the work and your personal life for employees. This is also used as a great recruitment tool because of the first reason, because employees have such, certain amounts of freedom here that they may choose one company over another just because of that reason. It's also easily contained. As long as employees show up, your required time for the last example, 9 o'clock, it's really nothing that you have to monitor. However, you can also have people show up at specified time. Maybe group A has to show up at 6, group B has to show up at 7, and so on and so forth. And as long as you have those certain employees show up at their designated times, really you don't have to monitor it all that much. The cons are that it prevents communication. Um, Depending on what kind of job that a flex time is trying to be used for, if one person comes in at 6 a.m. and they're depending on another person's information to continue their work for the day, but they don't show up until 9, that really bogs down the day. And it also, as an employer, you're paying for an employee to essentially wait for another employee to come to finish their work, which becomes expensive. Employees may make bad choices. I mean, with free will comes good and bad choices, and unfortunately, you can make them in this one. Um, it also only applicants in certain jobs it's only applicable in certain jobs. So, like factory workers or line workers who have to have a certain amount of people there to operate couldn't work on flex time unless you're doing, of course, the segmented group A comes in at certain times. But other than that, you really have to have everyone there at one point in time. Um, it also goes back to it's also increased expense, especially if employees make bad choices. One potentially being if they showed up at 6 a.m. and they didn't go home until like 5 or 6 a.m. every day, or 6 p.m. every day, then you've just paid for a lot of overtime and it becomes expensive. The next part of the presentation is on paid time off, or PTO. And PTO is just essentially what it is. It's an employee receiving pay for the hours that they aren't working. Some examples of that are sick leave, which is when you take days off because you're sick. Vacation leave is obviously when you go on vacation, you need to take some days off. Holiday, which are the main holidays like 4th of July or Christmas time or New Year's Eve time. There's also other, which could be jury duty or could be associated with the National Guard. Some general information about PTO is that here in Idaho, the law doesn't require employers to give out PTO. However, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2001, there was only 47% of employers who offered PTO, and that number rise to 76% in 2018, which is almost a 30% increase, albeit over a long period of time, but it is increasing as a benefit that employers are giving to their employees. The new trend, according to an article titled Kickstarter Nix's Unlimited Vacation Time for Employees by Ungler, the new trend is unlimited PTO. And unlimited PTO means unlimited PTO. An employee can ask their employer for whatever however much time that they feel that they need to do vacations, maybe to take some sick leave, whatever, for whatever reason, to take time off. However, of course, that's up to the company, and there are, I'm assuming, restrictions that a company would place on that, but you can ask for an unlimited amount of PTO. The companies that are using it, that have implemented it, are Netflix, there's Prezi, there's Kickstarter, which is now rescinded, and they've gone back to the capped amount of PTO. In the same article by Ungler, it talked about how employees are very unsure about the unlimited PTO that's been implemented in their companies. They're unsure of how much time to take off for fear of being looked at poorly by their employer if they take too much time off, and what's the appropriate amount to take off. And also some are angry because in businesses, it's generally advised that in place of PTO, you can trade it in for, a bonus at the end of the year for PTO that you didn't take, and that would be going away because now you would have unlimited PTO. Flex time and PTO together can make really great benefits that a company can offer applicants that maybe sway them from another company to one's own company. Also, receiving time off and having the freedom to choose when the day begins and when the day ends can increase work satisfaction and overall morale in employees. However, it's cautioned that maybe too much of a good thing is a potential bad thing, just because you potentially might be spending in expenses money on benefits that's not giving you any benefits from employees back. Yeah. And thank you for listening to my presentation.